Welcome back to Love Against the Odds, where love must fight against fate and forgetfulness. In the previous episode, we witnessed a heartbreaking moment when Tu Diem finally found Toàn only to face the bitter truth. He had lost every memory of her. But the tragedy didn't stop there. Right after their painful reunion, they were fiercely pursued by Old Man Thu. Toàn, in a moment of intense headache, had to choose between the truth and oblivion. Right now, we are plunging into a life-or-death escape. Can Diem hold on to the man of her life when he constantly doubts her? And how can they possibly escape the trap set by the enemy who stole everything? Get ready for the most dramatic twists. Like this video and subscribe to the channel immediately so you don't miss the moment they bet their lives on each other. The kindness of the third grandmother, the wood seller, saved Tu Diem from the brink of exhaustion. 2 days of rest and food at the small cottage by the forest helped her regain some physical strength, but her nerves were still on edge. She knew she couldn't waste another second. "Grandmother, I have to leave now. I must go see Old Man Thu," Tu Diem said, with a determined voice, her eyes burning bright. She couldn't reveal the whole truth about the terrifying nightmare, only vaguely mentioning an urgent matter concerning the life of the man she loved. The grandmother looked at her with understanding eyes. She didn't ask further, simply handing her a small cloth bag containing a few dry biscuits and a full water bottle. "My child, the road to Old Man Thu's mansion is still long and very complicated. Be careful. Kindness will lead the way, but prudence is the key. I believe you will find what you are looking for." Clutching the silver ring in her hand, Tu Diem left. Old Man Thu's mansion was an ancient French-style building, imposing yet cold. It was surrounded by a high stone wall and a strict security system. She realized she couldn't walk in through the front door. She spent the entire afternoon observing the sunset, painting the sky purple. She discovered a small, less guarded path behind the garden typically used for deliveries. Night fell, and Tu Diem acted. She weaved through the dense trees, her heart pounding. Finally, she found Old Man Thu's study. Inside, everything was neat and dark. She began her search. Not for money, not for business documents. She searched for evidence of Thuan's departure, a train ticket, a visa, or any letter. Instead, her hand brushed against a thick file hidden at the bottom of a drawer. She opened it trembling. It wasn't an overseas travel file. It was a medical file accompanied by a photo of Thuan in a coma and a report full of cold medical terms. Severe traumatic brain injury, selective amnesia, and a highly confidential letter dated yesterday. The patient is awake but suffers from total amnesia. Needs to be transferred to a more discreet location for recovery away from surveillance by his former family and rivals. Tu Diem's mind spun. The nightmare was true. Old Man Thu had lied. Thuan had never gone abroad. He was injured. He was held captive and hidden. She had been betrayed by the very person she trusted. A handwritten address was attached at the end of the letter, pointing to a secluded, run-down compound in the suburbs. Early the next morning, Tu Diem arrived at the address. It was an abandoned warehouse district, damp and smelling foul. She burst inside, fear no longer an issue. Rage and fierce devotion had replaced all dread. She found an old wooden door, secured with a heavy rusty padlock. This had to be it. She used a blunt iron bar she had picked up on the road, her hand trembling but infused with strength. The clunk of the lock springing open was a chime of freedom for Tuan, but also the prelude to her own pain. The door swung open. A weak light filtered into the small room, revealing a scene that made Tu Diem freeze. Tuan, he was sitting, leaning against the wall, his eyes staring into space. Gaunt, pale, but still him, the man of her life. She rushed forward. Tuan, you're here, you're alive. She sank to her knees, hugging him tightly. His familiar warmth, his known scent, it was all real. She sobbed uncontrollably, the cry of relief, of love conquering all shadows. Donna looked up at her. His eyes, the very eyes she had carried with her through months of despair, were now looking at her with a look of complete unfamiliarity. He gently unwrapped her arms, not with anger, but with an empty indifference. Who are you? Tuan asked, his voice hoarse, but without any hint of recognition. Please let go of me. You must have the wrong person. This shock was more devastating than the nightmare. Tu Diem felt as if she had just been shoved into an abyss. What are you saying? She whispered, unable to believe her ears. She looked straight into his eyes, desperately searching for a flicker of memory, a sign of acknowledgement. It's Diem Tuan Tu. Diem, your woman. The one you promised you'd reunite with. She took the silver ring from her finger and grabbed his hand. Look, this ring. You gave it to me, you said. Tuan pulled his hand back. He frowned, hurting not from memory, but from the pressure of this strange woman. I'm sorry. I don't remember who you are. I don't remember anything at all. I have no memories, no woman. Tuan said, his voice tired and firm. He shook his head. My head. It hurts too much. Please go. Tu Diem's entire world collapsed. A wall of icy oblivion had been erected right between them, more cruel than any iron shackles. Tu Diem sat there, tears streaming down her face. But the fire of her devotion did not die out. She suddenly recalled Old Man Thu's words and the advice of the second grandmother. A wounded root cannot heal if it is pulled from the earth too soon. Let it take root on its own. She understood. Her enemy was not Tuan, but the injury that had stolen his memory. Love must be the cure, not a burden. Tu Diem slowly stood up, wiping her tears away. Her face was now etched with resolve and fierce determination. All right, Tuan, she said, her voice no longer tearful, but hard as steel. It doesn't matter if you don't remember me. I know who you are. I know what we were. She looked directly into his bewildered eyes. I won't leave. I won't abandon you ever again. Even if you are a blank slate, I will rewrite our story. I will be here every single day until you remember. Tuan, you are my whole life, and I will fight for this life. Tu Diem turned around, surveying the miserable detention room. She didn't know what awaited them. Perhaps old man Thu's pursuit, perhaps Tuan's ceaseless headaches. But she had found him, and that was the first victory. She walked to the window, taking a deep breath. The true journey of reunion had begun. Love now was no longer romance, but a long-enduring battle against the most cruel form of forgetfulness. Can Tu Diem help Tuan regain his memory? How will old man Thu's wicked plan be revealed? And Tuan, will he realize that the mysterious woman who keeps appearing in his fever dreams is Diem? After her firm declaration, Tu Diem turned back to face Tuan. He was still sitting there, his eyes vacant and exhausted. There was no longer anger or confusion, only the terrifying passivity of a man who had lost his soul. Tu Diem decided not to pressure him anymore. She sat down on the cold floor across from him, maintaining a respectful distance. "I know you need time," she said gently, her voice infused with understanding and tolerance. "But I won't leave. The person who hurt you could return at any moment." She began to work. This miserable prison room needed to be cleaned. She used her shawl, dampening it with water from the bottle, carefully wiping the dirt from Tuan's face, hands, and feet. Tuan did not resist. He allowed her to act, but his gaze remained fixed on Tu Diem, as if trying to solve a puzzle. This feeling, deep inside Tuan's mind, something was stirring. This woman with her sparkling coffee-colored eyes and long black hair was not familiar. But her actions, the warm tone of her voice when she spoke his name, and especially her unquestioning devotion, brought forth a strange, familiar sensation, uncomfortably warm. It wasn't memory. It was a heart's survival response. Aren't you afraid of me?" Tuan asked, his voice rough. Tu Diem looked up and smiled a smile that had once been the sunshine of his life. "Afraid? What do I have to be afraid of? I've been searching for you throughout the entire time you were missing," she replied, her hand gently stroking the faint scar on his forehead. "I'm afraid you'll forget me, but I'm not afraid of you." The moment Tu Diem's soft hand touched that scar, a powerful jolt of electricity shot through Tuan's body. It wasn't pain, but the sudden activation of a dormant system. Tuan inhaled sharply. A fleeting image flashed like lightning before his eyes. A bright white room, the blare of an ambulance siren, a woman's figure kneeling beside a hospital bed, her eyes tear-filled, gripping his hand. "Tuan, you have to live. I am waiting for you." The image vanished quickly, leaving a fierce and indescribable void of pain. "Ah!" Tuan groaned softly. He clutched his head. The familiar headache had returned, but this time it wasn't a dull ache. It was a tsunami, sharp shards of glass cutting into his cerebral cortex. "Tuan, what's wrong?" Tu Diem panicked quickly, embracing him. Her embrace, her urgency, and the gentle fragrance emanating from her hair triggered another reaction in Tuan. This smell. It was that scent. In Tuan's mind, another more romantic memory, yet still fragmented and vague, struggled to surface. The mellow sound of jazz music. A warm winter evening. He and a woman, her face unclear, were dancing by candlelight. A whisper in his ear, "My love is your destiny, Tuan." Tiny. Tuan mumbled, the sound choked off by the pain. He forcefully pushed Tu Diem away, not out of hatred, but from his body's defensive reaction to too much suppressed information. "Don't touch me!" he roared, his voice filled with agony. "Who are you? Why do I see you in my head? What destiny?" Tuan fell back, his back hitting the wall hard. He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to fight the battle raging inside his head. The pain wasn't just physical. It was the collision of two worlds, the empty present world and the full, sealed-off past world. Tu Diem, though her heart was breaking, maintained her composure. She knew this was a good sign. The memory was trying to return, even if it was hurting him. "Don't try to remember, Tuan, relax," Tu Diem pleaded, but he couldn't hear her. Tuan was being swept into a violent vortex of broken images. A yacht on the sea. A tense meeting, the sound of arguments. Old Man Thu's scowling face in the headlights. The screech of car brakes. And always the sensation of a familiar, warm embrace. "Stop," Tuan screamed. "It's all wrong. I am not that person." He panicked, struggling, and in his frenzy, Tuan grabbed Tu Diem. The silver ring on her hand scraped against his skin, causing a particular sharp sensation. "This..." Tuan pointed at the ring, his eyes wide open, not with emptiness, but with the terror of a name about to be uttered. "Die." Only a single syllable. Only the closest moment of recognition. And then the pain abruptly peaked. All light faded. Tuan collapsed unconscious in Tu Diem's arms. Tu Diem tightly held his weary body. She gently laid Tuan down, using her jacket as a pillow. Her tears fell incessantly, but this time they were not tears of despair, but tears of wounded hope. "You called my name, Tuan. You almost remembered," she whispered, stroking his messy hair. She knew her presence was a double-edged sword. It brought healing, but it also brought intense pain to his mind. Tu Diem had to make a life-or-death decision, continue to stimulate Tuan's memory, accepting the risk that he would endure more cruel headaches, but hoping recovery would be faster. Hide herself, silently caring for Tuan until he stabilized, avoiding shocking him further. She looked around the room. They weren't safe here. The truth about Tuan's amnesia had been revealed. Old Man Thu would soon come looking. "We can't delay any longer," Tu Diem told herself. "I have to take you away. I have to protect you from them and from your own pain." She stood up, taking a deep breath. All fear was gone. Now, she was the guide, Tuan's only shield. The strength of love surged again. Tu Diem carefully supported Tuan, hoisting his heavy body onto her shoulder. With the extraordinary will of a warrior, she began pulling him out of this dark dungeon towards the light, towards a future where she absolutely believed they would be together. Tu Diem and Tuan's escape journey would be 10,000 times tougher. Where would they go? How could they evade the pursuit of Old Man Thu and the other villains? And could Tuan, the man without memory, find trust in this strange yet familiar woman? In the dim light of early morning, Tu Diem was nearly out of strength, but her will was still a blazing flame. She struggled desperately to drag Tuan's heavy body out of the old warehouse. Just as she managed to lean Tuan against the crumbling stone wall outside, he stirred, still dazed. What's happening?" Tuan asked, his voice weak, his eyes suspicious as he looked at the sweating, breathless woman. "Why are you taking me out of there?" "Silence, Tuan. Tu Diem hissed, straining her ears. She felt a wave of unease rising. I found you, and now we have to leave immediately. This place isn't safe. Old Man Thu will soon find out I located you. Tuan frowned, trying to stand up straight, but his legs were weak, causing him to sway. Old Man Thu, who is he? And who are you? What proof do you have that I'm in danger? Tuan tried to maintain the rational tone of a stranger, even though the familiarity radiating from her breath was stirring panic within him. Tu Diem had no time for explanations. She grabbed Tuan's arm, looking directly into his eyes. Do you want to live? I am the only one who can help you survive and find the truth. The fierce resolve and urgency in Tu Diem's eyes convinced Tuan. He didn't remember who she was, but instinct told him, that in this situation, he had no other choice but to trust her. All right, but you have to tell me who you are and why you're risking your life for me, Tuan mumbled, letting Tu Diem practically carry him. They had walked barely 100 meters when disaster struck. A sleek, luxurious black car sped toward them from the end of the road. Old Man Thu, with a cold face and knife-sharp eyes, sat in the back seat. With him were two tall, dark-suited bodyguards. Stop! Old Man Thu roared, his voice echoing through the air. Tu Diem, what are you doing there, you traitorous girl? Put Tuan down immediately. Tu Diem felt the blood in her veins freeze. She forcefully shoved Tuan into the dense bushes by the roadside, then positioned herself to block Old Man Thu's view. Old Man Thu. Tu Diem stood tall, trying to hide her fear. You lied to me. Tuan was never safe abroad. You held him captive and left him injured. Old Man Thu sneered a look of utter contempt. I wasn't holding him captive. You foolish girl, I was protecting him. He has a severe brain injury, and I wanted him to recover in secret. And what did you do? You provoked him. You caused him pain. You are a menace. He ordered the bodyguards, grab that girl and bring Tuan back. The two bodyguards charged towards Tu Diem. Tu Diem screamed, not out of fear, but so Tuan in the bushes could hear clearly. Tuan, listen to me, old man. Thu stole your memory. He wants to turn you into a puppet to control the company. You are CEO. Tuan, you promised to marry me. Please don't trust him. At that moment, one of the bodyguards grabbed Tu Diem's arm. Let go. She struggled, but the bodyguard was too strong. Tuan lay in the bushes, his whole body trembling. Tu Diem's words, especially the phrases, CEO Tuan and marry me, triggered another jolt of pain, but this time, it wasn't as strong as the previous tsunami. It was a dull but clear reminder. He saw Old Man Thu's cruel eyes. He saw Tu Diem's extreme panic. His instinct, his unconscious loyalty, was fighting against oblivion. Why would that man want her silenced so badly? Tuan was no longer the weak man in the warehouse. Although he didn't remember the past, the decisive and courageous nature of a CEO was still there. He scrambled to his feet, ignoring the throbbing pain in his head. He knew that if he did nothing, this woman, the one who felt like he had lived with her for centuries, would be harmed. Tuan suddenly rushed out of the bushes, crashing hard into the bodyguard who was holding Tu Diem. Let her go, Tuan roared, his voice hoarse, but full of authority. The bodyguard was caught off guard and stumbled. Tu Diem took the opportunity to break free. Old Man Thu was astonished. Tuan, What are you doing? You forgot who she is. She's a stranger. Tuan turned to face Old Man Thu. His face was pale from exhaustion and pain, but his eyes held a sharp coldness and suspicion. I don't remember who you are, Tuan said, his voice trembling. Yet every word was proof of a shift. But I remember the feeling. She is trying to protect me. And you terrify me. Tu Diem looked at Tuan, tears of joy streaming down her face. He had chosen her. Tuan, that's right, trust your heart, Tu Diem yelled. Old Man Thu's face was flushed with fury. Enough, kill them both now. The two bodyguards, now focused, rushed to attack. Tu Diem realized they couldn't fight. She grabbed Tuan's hand tightly. Run, Tuan, this way. She pulled Tuan, running at full speed down the dirt slope. The CEO, Tuan Blood, had awakened. He ran faster than Tu Diem expected, but his injuries and headaches still slowed him down. The second bodyguard was close behind. Damn it! Tuan gritted his teeth. He felt a new surge of strength, perhaps the adrenaline of survival. They plunged into a small dark alleyway that led into an old market district. Old Man Thu and his car couldn't follow. You too. I will find you. There will be nowhere to hide. Old Man Thu's furious shouts echoed after them. Tuan and Tu Diem kept running until they were sure they had lost their pursuers. They stopped in a dark, damp corner next to a trash bin, both panting and exhausted. Tuan let go of Tu Diem's hand. He leaned against the wall, clutching his head, trying to stabilize his breathing and the pain. You saved me, Tuan admitted, his voice shaky. But I still don't know who you are. Tu Diem also leaned against the wall, trying to catch her breath. I'm Diem, your lover. I will never leave you alone again, she said, her voice full of love and protection. Tuan looked at her for a long time. His eyes were no longer vacant, but filled with confusion. Why? Tuan asked his question, not one of suspicion, but a desperate thirst for answers. Why do you believe I'm a CEO, the man you love, when I can't even remember my own name? Tu Diem smiled a tired but confident smile. Because I've spent my whole life searching for you, believing in your promise. I can't be wrong. She reached out and took his cold hand. Let me be your memory. At least until you remember. Tuan didn't pull his hand away. He looked down at his hand held by hers, feeling the warmth of this strange yet familiar woman transferring to him. He couldn't trust her, but he couldn't deny her either. So, where do we go now? If everything you said is true, we have nowhere safe. Tu Diem squeezed his hand tighter, and the image of the kind face of the wood-selling grandmother flashed in her mind. We will find help. I know good people, Tuan. People who believed in me. Our love overcame death, and it will overcome this forgetfulness. Together, we will write the second chapter of happiness. They looked at each other, two hearts beating with the rhythm of risk and hope. The escape was fragilely successful, but the journey to reclaim memory and love was still long riddled with dangers from lurking enemies. Can Tu Diem lead Tuan to safety? And could Tuan's confusion inadvertently endanger them both? Like this video, subscribe to the channel immediately to follow the next chapter. The last sanctuary, as Tu Diem must use every fiber of her being to convince Tuan to believe in the love they once shared.